I'm with Amanda Baker at JPS Hospital, and she works with infant care.
I look after newborn babies, the mums sometimes too, but mostly the babies. I'd never really thought about it. I never really come across it until I came to JPS. And then we were still, we got one in and I got interested in it then. We weren't very good at assessing them initially when I first started looking after them. So I did some research into that, and then I read a pamphlet on for the parents on how to take care of them after they go home, because we put them on morphine if we need to, and then we slowly decrease the morphine until they're off the morphine and able to go home. But those babies are still going to display some of the symptoms of withdrawal, and they can do that for up to 6 months after they go home. And often the parents don't realise that. They're thinking they're getting this baby home who's going to behave perfectly, and they don't. They're not easy babies to look after. They're very irritable, they're fussy. Sometimes they want to be held and you just can't put them down. Sometimes they don't want to know you. Sometimes they don't want to eat. They're messy eaters. They're just really difficult babies sometimes. Sometimes they're great, but sometimes they can be just horrible. And parents don't expect that. Their expectation is they're taking home this perfect baby that we've cured, and we haven't cured them. We've stopped them displaying the symptoms. Babies aren't born addicted to drugs, they're born dependent on drugs, and there's a difference. So adults will go out and actively look for drugs, babies don't, and that's the difference between being dependent and addicted to it. So the parents themselves have obviously got a drug history. And they know though, they can tell you, they say this baby's withdrawing, I've had some of these symptoms too. But they think that we've sorted the baby out, we've cured it, and they don't realise that they're still going to have problems going forward. You can't get emotionally involved. Mentally, it's frustrating because you know that it's not, that it didn't need to happen. But the frustration comes in trying to help those mothers cope as well. Some of them know from the outset that they aren't going to get to keep their babies. You know that there's a reasonable chance. If they're with the program, if they're in a recognised treatment program, and if they follow the rules, they have a better chance. Now there's 3 levels of CPS removal. There's the one where they will just go, you report that there's some sort of problem, and they'll go and they'll interview the parents. They might do a home visit and decide that everything's okay. And those we usually get with the mothers that test positive for marijuana. And we're seeing a lot more marijuana. We're seeing a lot more drug abuse actually, but definitely marijuana. So those CPS aren't even interested in marijuana these days. There's so much of it around. Then the second level is where they'll go assess the situation, interview the parents, and then they might want the baby to either go to a family member or a family friend, but they'll still let the parents have contact with the baby. And then the third level is where we have a removal, where they'll go to court and remove that child. And we do see that fairly often. I'd say 1 out of every 3 cases it ends up as a removal. Sometimes family members have had removals as well, so they're just not viable. Sometimes they just can't find anyone. Often they go to foster. Occasionally they'll go to someplace like Gladney or to one of the orphanages, but usually they'll go from there to someplace else. Again, we never find out what's happened with them. So that's why you can't get emotionally involved. You'd love to, sometimes just say, I'll take this baby home with me, but you can't, and you know reality that you can't. Firstly, because you're not allowed to, because you've looked after the baby in hospital. So you do the best that you can do for the baby while you have it in your care. So emotionally, there's always a little bit you have to hold back, even with the baby.